do you think that anybody can be an entrepreneur? What is or what has been your motivation on the days that are the hardest to move forward?
Podcast. Today we're gonna keep it. What the fuck? My drink fell.
It's been a hell of a start to this podcast. We'll
We
put it like
are
that.
back. All right. Shareef here from SS Customs. This is the Under Wraps podcast. We have another one coming for you guys. I am here today with my wonderful co-host AJ.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Rockin'.
Doing something a little different today.
Today we are going to be talking different. It's going to be a little bit more podcast about business, entrepreneurship, and a couple other things that we got going on over here. So, since we're sitting and we're about to get started going this way, we're going to keep it a little light, and I'm going to have you probably ask some of the questions, at least some of the ones that you feel like are the most pertinent today, and we can go through maybe several of them.
Yeah, no, for sure. So a lot of these, and actually what would be pretty cool, because I'm obsessed with entrepreneur podcasts. Love listening to people like Gary Vee, people like Andy Frisella. Oh, man, yeah, that's the difference. I need to sit up. Yeah, so I love entrepreneurship podcasts, man. I have a love for entrepreneurship, business development, the whole nine. So we had an open day today. So he's like, hey, man, what do you want to do? I was like, well, we definitely needed one where it's just going to be me and him chopping it up. And then we're like, what do we feel what's going to be the thing? So I was like, why not talk about the thing that I love and the thing that he does? So it's going to be a little reminiscent of the first one, where it's definitely going to be kind of interview-esque, just kind of learning from his experiences, a couple questions that I got that are very broad. And if there's any of these questions that you all, if you're interested in entrepreneurship as well, if you'd like us to expand upon, almost all of these could probably have its own individual podcast where it's just elaborated on. So let us know what you think, if there's certain questions that you want to be expanded on, more questions that you want us to ask, because who doesn't like having some more wisdom, especially about ways that you can make money and do a bunch of different things in your life, expand on your passions, you know what I'm saying? So it's definitely going to be a fun topic for me. Maybe not those who aren't interested in that, but we'll stick some car stuff in there too, so don't worry. All right, man. So
Good job.
First things first is, do you think that anybody can be an entrepreneur?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a loaded. Why you gotta start with that one? So basically, he wrote a lot of these questions out. Didn't give me really much time to prepare. He just kind of wrote them like right before we got on the podcast, because we're trying to figure out what the subject matter is gonna be today, because we had some guests change things around, like he said. You said, what is it to?
Do you believe that everyone can be an entrepreneur?
I think the politically correct thing to say, the PC thing to say here is that, oh yeah, everybody can be an entrepreneur and everybody can chase their dreams and everybody can do this, that, and the other.
But
in theory, that is probably true for the vast majority of people, based on what you would think if everyone's able-bodied, put it that way.
Yeah.
But in reality, the reason why there's very few people who are entrepreneurs is because what it takes to do any type of business that's considered, a typical small business that you're running in America, which is what we're going to talk about, is obviously going to be stationed here, it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication, a lot of perseverance. There's a lot of ups and downs, puts it to the ringer. And there's a lot of times, if you don't have the tenacity to go through with it, it's, a lot of people throw in the towel, which is why I think business ownership, entrepreneurship has a high failure rate. Mm-hmm. The word entrepreneurship in itself is kind of a loaded thing.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this before personally.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of people just, use that word and they throw it around a lot. And it's one of those words that gets used quite a bit in business. Oh, entrepreneurship. And whether someone is doing business or not, they still, they could have just had an idea or starting it, but they're already throwing the word around entrepreneur. So usually I hear that word a lot from a lot of people. But I think for someone who's chasing business or chasing an idea or some type of goal that they're trying to build towards something, whatever the vision or dream is, they never really think of the word entrepreneur or what it is. I'm trying to become this thing called an entrepreneur. They're just simply going after this idea, this dream, this vision, this thought that popped up in their head, and they're like, okay, cool, I'm going to go for it. And if they succeed in their process, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever time it takes, somebody labels them with the word entrepreneur without them thinking about it. And most entrepreneurs who are true entrepreneurs, they tend to have that word thrown at them from the outside in, because they were never chasing the word or the idea of what that was. They were chasing their vision, their dreams. So in short, that's, kind of like the answer to your question. I don't know if I completely answered it, though.
Yeah, it's basically like everybody can do it, but not many people stick with it and actually become it type thing. And I like to think of it as kind of like a singer, right? So it's like everybody can be a singer, but not everybody can be a good one. You know what I'm saying? Like something, like there's nature versus nurture, but there's got to be something in you. How you said, gotta have that dog in you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes to hard work. People used to ask me. I get this asked probably a couple times a year. It's like, hey man, what's the one thing that you do, or what's the one thing piece of advice you can give, or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
And I would say an equalizer, many times, is your own personal hard work ethic that you put towards your idea. Mm-hmm. So let's just say somebody else, there's a business you're starting and there's someone else starting it somewhere close by you. If the other person has money, investors, people behind them, whatever have you, which I've seen many times, even in my own industry, at a local level, and it seems from the outwardly like, oh man, these guys got everything, they got money, they got this, they got that, whatever the heck it may be. And if you yourself as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, or whatever it is that you want to call yourself, that's chasing the same typical idea or vision, but you have the hard work ethic, meaning you will outwork anybody on that team that's on the opposing side, but you don't have their assets, you don't have their money, you don't have their time. You don't have all the other things, the fancy things. Yeah. You can equalize the whole thing from back and forth, because that's one thing that most people always tap out on, is the endurance part of it and the perseverance part of it. A lot of people will always kind of tap out early in that process. Yeah. So I think, or they're going to stick to their typical 8 hours, 9 hours. They got the comfort settings because they got money sitting in the bank. They got this, that, and the other. Yeah. Or maybe they're already coming from that type of, area. So I think the humbler you are when you start in terms of where you are financially, gives you that edge to want to work harder, outwork the other person. So the one thing that can't be taken away from you is how much hard work ethic you're going to put towards the idea. Now, that's one part of it, and that's a really good part to equalize it. But if you have everything else, the business sense, the street sense, you're smart when it comes to both sides, on the business side and the street sense side, it's good. The two most powerful assets you could bring to that table is going to be marketing and sales. Yeah. Generally, if you can really excel at those two, then your idea should be able to flourish.
So for you, your circle, would you say that you have like a decent amount of business owners in your circle, or like you know a lot of them? I'm assuming.
Business owners in my circle. Like just friends, you mean?
Yeah.
Like things like that. Yeah. I've met them over time. I'm starting my business. I was definitely more of I would say, introvert to a degree. Mm-hmm. I would go to events because I'm a car guy. Yeah, that was my biggest push towards this industry. I loved cars and I wanted to do something in cars. I would go to as many car shows, car meets, everything growing up before I even started the business, right? And so it was one of those things where it kind of naturally had an inclination to do this because of the passion of cars. So when I would go out to these events and meetings and I started the business, then it was more inclined to, okay, let me get out of my comfort zone and start meeting some of these people, saying hi, talking to them about their car. And it was a little bit easy because as a actual true gearhead, not someone who's starting the business because I really had a huge passion for vinyl, or I really had a huge passion for doing this kind of the actual work that we do here. It was much more so I had a huge passion for cars, and I tried to figure out what I learned through my youth and skill sets to figure out a way to apply to get into this industry.
Yeah.
So for me, going up to a guy who's, has got a CLK Black Series at a car meet, and, in the mid 2000s, or someone who's got a Camaro or a Mustang or whatever it is that they got, and I'm able to have a conversation about their particular car. It makes a big difference because I actually know a lot about what they have, what they're driving, and I'm just what do you call a gearhead, I guess you could say, in terms of really being enthralled in that whole lifestyle. So that kind of really helped for me, particularly to network, because it was a little bit easier because I wasn't pushing more so the car thing. The car thing was a byproduct. Like, oh, so what do you drive? Oh, I drive that. Oh, damn, what did you do? How did you do that? Where did you get it done at? Well, actually, that's one of the things I do. And my pitch was never just to push. I wasn't the guy at the car shows going around putting out flyers, people's windshields, giving out business cards to every person I met. It was never about that. It was purely about going to the events and the car shows, bringing something that I liked and loved, and then going around and just actually having pure conversations. Yeah. If they really wanted to know what I did, they would ask me. Or they would see whatever car I would bring, and they would ask questions about that. And then naturally that's that conversation, but it was never a push. I just don't believe in that style.
So that's how you built your clientele, was just straight up networking, just word of mouth.
Yeah, a lot of it started from networking and chasing things that were in that line. So in the first podcast, I think we talked a little bit about the cars and how I got it to Noble. Yeah. I think we talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
And then how that pushed me into a different car group and category. Yep. And then so on, everything, one thing led to the next, to the next, to the next. And then that's how kind of the networking started. Early days of 6-Speed Online, luxury4play.com, and a lot of the, when Gold Rush Rally first started, just as a friends group of people getting together, that all birthed right here in the San Francisco Bay Area, Silicon Valley. So all that really helped us, who were local people at the time, just kind of get together, do a road rally. Yeah. Or get together, do a car meet, car event, this, that, driving, whatever it was. And it really helped pull everyone together. And then eventually people would find out, what you want to do. Oh, you're a doctor. Oh, you're this. Or you're a physician. Oh, you customize cars. Everyone kind of knew what everyone was doing. And I never judged anybody for using anybody for their services. But at that time, there wasn't really anybody doing what I was doing. I think it was one guy by the time I came to the peninsula from the East Bay, there was one guy on the peninsula doing it. His name was Lyle from Vinyl Styles. He's still around. He's still a good friend of mine. Him and his lady Shannon, and they're really good people. They do great work. And he was one of the first guys on the peninsula that I can remember doing this service. I think they're still rocking. They're still doing their thing now.
So I'm actually gonna lead into that, but I'm gonna ask a leading question just to see if it'll, follow through. So over time, were you able to meet a lot of business owners and talk to and learn from, and discuss what it's like owning a business, trials, tribulations, et cetera, et cetera? Over time.
Over time, was I able to meet a lot of people?
Meet a lot of business owners. So people who are like in not even the same industry, but just people who own a business, entrepreneurs, et cetera, that you were able to converse with, kind of see what their experiences were like, or were you just solo dolo?
Nah, in the beginning it was cool because, it was, first of all, you met a lot of car enthusiasts. So everybody, whether they had an M3 or they had a C63 or they had whatever kind of cars they had, whether it was European or American or domestic, doesn't matter. Yeah. Everybody was customizing something. Somebody would want to ask me a question or get to know about something that I was doing. So the networking started that way. Most of those people were they were professionals or business owners. But the bigger the company got, the more clients I had, the more people I worked with. Eventually, it got to the point where I would come across a business owner or somebody who was high level. And then eventually they got into another one. Eventually got into another one. And so over the past 17 years now of doing this, I've met so many amazing people from, Fortune 500 to Fortune 100 to Fortune 50 clients. And I have them all on my roster. We've had another Fortune 50 client here recently. And when I say that, these are people that are in the top 50 people in the world. And we live in a very unique place here in Silicon Valley where you have some of the most influential and just crazy type of people when it comes to where their financial stakes are, and what they've created, big brands that people use every day in the tech space or in the social space. Mm-hmm. And so we've had, we have the pleasure, the honor, and we're humbled to be able to work with a lot of these people and either founders, co-founders, and whatever have you of these people. So it's been a really cool run, and now I get to work with not just the traditional business owner, but people that are just have built absolutely amazing empires in business. And I get to have conversations with them, hang out with them on a personal note, work on their vehicles, and they trust us and our team to be able to work on their rides, and that's pretty special in itself.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely special, and it's nice to be able to build those connections. Where I'm going to go with that is, so since you've had the chance to meet a lot of other entrepreneurs and talk to them and potentially even learn from what they've experienced, you yourself are not just the starter of a business. Like, you pioneered an industry. So where would you say that your experience may be different? Like, what was different for you that other business owners likely don't face? So a lot of entrepreneurs, like, they'll do e-commerce. E-commerce isn't new, right? Like, they'll create merchandising. Merchandising isn't new. But, like, for you, there was nothing before you. So you didn't have anything to lean on to, like, learn. So how did you navigate your space being the pioneer of an entire industry?
It's crazy because today's, in today's modern world, 2023 versus 2005, it's a vastly different landscape, right? When it comes to social stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, YouTube was there, MySpace was there, Facebook was probably coming up. But outside of that, there wasn't, Instagram didn't exist. I don't know if Twitter was really making any waves, but, definitely TikTok wasn't there. And so many other platforms weren't really in moving. Vine and all the other stuff wasn't really out even then. So you have a landscape where you have basic things, maybe early Facebook days and MySpace, where you have to go out there on the social front and do it. This is when Yellow Pages Online was there, and you had other things like that where, Yelp was, catching a little bit of fire and things like that. So you don't have all the traditional assets today of getting out there and marketing when it comes to the social front and review-based websites. There were other review-based websites at that time back then. But, getting out there in terms of, really pushing forward towards the industry was something new. So for us, it was like me and Mickey were, really jumping into that thing at that time in terms of chasing this down. Since my background was commercial wraps, myself and a handful of other people around the world were pioneering this idea of taking this commercial wrap world and going towards the custom wrap world front. A lot of us were doing commercial wraps with whatever technology was present, late 90s, 2000s. And then a lot of us, who had a passion for cars, which out of the commercial wrap industry, there was a few people that had a love or affinity for the custom car world. So out of those people, they were probably having the same ideas that I was at the same time. And some of those people I know that are amazing people. We did a podcast recently, which was one of our first podcasts on our YouTube channel, which had a small group of those people from around the world at SEMA. And some of those individuals were those people that I'm talking about that were also envisioning, like, hey, man, there may be something here. There's an idea here behind this. That they could take this commercially printed film and print colors in it, which they were probably doing, like myself at the time. And then they were probably envisioning in the future that there might be manufacturers that might make solid colors of these things to be able to change the restyling market from custom paint work to custom vinyl work and actually being a viable product, as opposed to the product that we were using that time, which had a lot of orange peel and cross hatches. You could see the air release channels right through the film. And, we kept pushing forward early in the industry. I didn't know I was going to be one of the early pioneers, it was just an exciting time where we just thought this idea would come to be, and there's a good potential that we can make this happen if we push for it and talk to the manufacturers, which we did. And I remember my first engagements with the manufacturers was at SEMA. I believe it was 2006. We took one of my client's cars out there, who was also in my car club, and we took his Infiniti G35 out. We had it displayed outside SEMA, where all the cars are usually parked right outside the front doors, and it was for the Squire's Turbo Systems, STS Turbo System. It was parked outside. It was wrapped. It had almost a full wrap. It had a pretty decent sized design on the side with the STS Turbo logos and whatever have you. And I was like, man, we need to be able to do this at a grander level. We got to be able to do crazy colors and designs and all this other stuff like I'm doing on my personal cars. So chasing everybody down, people at SEMA, 3M booth, Avery booth, and like, okay, I'm going to go find these people that manufacture these films, and I'm going to talk to them about, hey, man, we need to make colors. In that moment, I realized there was no presence of vinyl at the SEMA show. There was 3M was a booth that was present, and 3M only had tape technology. So it was like paint technology, adhesive technology for their paints and painters tapes, and other things that 3M, whether is known for or not known for, but all in the paint world of that. And I walked up to them and I was like, hey man, you guys should do wraps. And the guy was confused on what I was talking about because there's so many departments at 3M. He didn't know that, he had no clue about the vinyl department. It was a commercial graphics division. So he put me in line with a gentleman named Doug, who's still a great friend, resource associate friend that is now one of the heads at 3M. And we used to have conversations all the time. And he was like, you know what? We're thinking about making this. We don't know if it's going to come out, but there's some people piquing our interest, and we're having internal conversations about possibly making colors in the future. So we'll keep you posted. We'll keep you posted. So I kept up on that. Shortly around that time, I think a couple years after that, knifeless tape came out. But this is already when materials. When we already had colored films. I've seen so many new products. Knifeless tape, I was there when the introduction of knifeless tape came, right? So knifeless tape didn't exist, and then all of a sudden there's this new product called knifeless tape. And so many tools and products and equipment that never existed before. I remember when the introduction of it was. I remember when Bad Rap came out, which was a product that Fellers put out. Going back to the SEMA, the only presence that you had for SEMA was ISA. So the ISA, or International Sign Association, was the only time you saw vinyl or stuff like that, which was another trade show. And there were, I think, ISGA, there was a few other ones out there that had like products for the sign and graphics industry, or the International Sign Association, which was the ISA show, which is also Las Vegas. That's where you would see printers and laminators and the first iterations of it, and vinyl and all that stuff, and people were trying to get on that wave in the early days. But SEMA, no presence at that time. And a few years later, you started seeing more and more presence of like a booth coming out that's showing colors, or another brand that's coming out showing another color. Like, and then you'll be like 5 colors, 6 colors. But flash forward now, well over a decade after, still relatively a new industry. You go to SEMA, and one of the halls for restyling, there's a huge section in SEMA where you just have booths of vinyl companies for restyling, PPF companies for protection films, window tint companies were always there, but now they all play ball on the same court when it comes to film technology. And to see where it's come so far, it is exciting. It's humbling. It's really awesome, because me and all of my friends, we that have been in the industry for some time, we all have conversations, and we're all like, if we get into more of a deeper convo, then we're talking about these things. Like, man, remember when all this stuff was just like a thought or idea? Now there's a whole industry around it. And so it's been a really cool thing to experience, being inside of it, seeing a new industry literally from thought to inception to birth to market adoption, where all the phases that you see on a bell curve. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you're actually living in them, and you're experiencing them all for a new industry. And that part of it is cool. And I think that's some of the things that most people, to be actually in the depths of it, it's a pure blessing, because not many people get to experience it in that fashion.
Yeah.
When you get to just be enthralled in a new industry, you're like, where are we going? This is crazy. This is actually happening. So that part of it is really, really cool, man.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a rare experience, and that's why I was kind of curious of, like, you know, what did you get to experience that other people, like, trials and tribulations that you had to experience that they don't have to, just simply due to lack of resources, because it's completely brand new, but then also the blessings of it. So it's always fun to hear about. And then
those stories can go on for hours, bro.
Oh yeah,
You talk about trials and tribulations, things that we didn't have access to, all the naysayers, whether they were consumers or whatever have you.
Yeah.
All the shit talking you basically heard from customers about the product on the cars, because this is the first time they've ever seen it, experienced it, what they're saying under their breath that you can actually hear about the industry, and because, you know, they're first seeing it, and just nobody really trusting you or your services because nobody really knows much about it, but they want to do it because they see this cool new product or idea, but they don't really have full trust in you or the industry, and they don't have any benchmarks to look at to say, okay, well, this shop in this city or these other 3 shops have good reviews, or this shop and blah, blah, blah. There's almost nobody in the West Coast that they can look for that do what we do or do what I was doing at the time. So for them, they're confused in terms of, okay, I don't have anything to look forward to as a reference. Yeah. So I got to believe in the questions and then this, that, and the other. And then, you know, in the beginning, we weren't the best installers. You know, I had my own form of OCD. So as the installer, I'm putting it down. I'm doing the best I can with whatever knowledge. But there are no classes. There are no courses. There are no trainings. There's nothing really for this new product that's hitting the market. Yeah. You know, color change films. Training and courses and certifications all came years later. So you're over there trying to install these things. And I remember when we were rapping in the beginning, when we first started doing it, and I would see another person start rapping in the San Francisco Bay Area. Then another person start rapping in San Francisco Bay Area. Then another person start rapping in San Francisco Bay Area. They would all come, a majority of them would bring, if they couldn't do certain things, right? Because they didn't have a background in commercial graphics or in the new color change, they were just hopping in. So they couldn't wrap a bumper. They couldn't wrap something complex. So they would bring the complex parts to the shop that I was in, say, can you wrap this part? Because this is the part I can't wrap. These are other people that are rappers or rap shops. They just can't wrap a bumper or, you know, or some other complex piece because they don't know how to do the distribution. So I would be the one wrapping complex pieces for them while they knock out the simple panels in the center. And I remember all those days and many, many other stories, and barely being able to survive in terms of, because, you know, you're really truly in the beginning start part of an industry. So the clients, who's coming, where are they coming from, how are you gonna market it? You have to figure all these things out. Whereas today, you have you don't have to convince anybody of vinyl wraps or what is a vinyl wrap or what is a PPF. Everyone knows about it. But it was a whole nother world back then when nobody knew what the heck you were doing to your car. What the heck? You could change the color with a film? Yeah, man, look, open the door. Damn, I've never seen this before. Every weekend, all the time, everywhere I went, nobody knew what the hell it was. So that was crazy. Now to just actually sit back and think about that, like, holy crap, I do remember those things. Yeah. That's pretty wild. So
then, like, the pride of sitting there, like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I can do it on yours too. What's up? And get the elevator pitch going.
Yeah, man, it's just wild to think that that's how much things have come and changed over the years, and with exponential technology growth of today. Yeah. You know, the paint industry lasted for well over 100 years, right? Now you have the wrap industry that's been around for over a decade. You know, pushing a decade and a half. The color change. Yeah, and because of exponential growth with the curves like this when it comes to tech, you have paint being replaced essentially in the restyling format to a good degree by vinyl, right? A lot of people choose that over painting nowadays. Custom painting is something that you can reverse with the vinyl. I don't think vinyl is going to have a 100-year run like paint did. Because of exponential growth in technology and how quickly things change, I think the vinyl wrap was a replacement to restyling for paint, but the vinyl wrap will have different iterations within itself, and the technology for that change because we're in Silicon Valley, we see this happening all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a different peripheral than other people around the world, let alone the United States, of how quickly things change.
Yeah.
Because we work around these clients who are movers and shakers in the tech space. So we're seeing this stuff happen, and I don't foresee vinyl having a run that long for 100 years. There's always what is next. So you have to be adaptable. You have to be able to be looking at what's the next thing. Even if it's something that you have in your mind that you could say maybe, okay, cool, let me try this. So we're always, as rappers, now that there's so many of us, we're pushing the envelope, pushing the boundaries. How can we get more creative? How can we push this? How can we make this rap more crazier than the last one? And so everybody's always pushing to hit the boundaries. And sooner or later, you kind of conquer everything you can do to a good degree, and then you're looking for the next thing. And tech usually catches up around that time. It says, okay, here's the next thing that's going to do restyling or whatever it is. And now you see BMW with their little panels that you can
Color
change the
shifting,
dial, which are the electronic ink that they're using. From usually it's white to black, black to white, because that's usually the electronic ink scale that runs off of. But there's going to be so many other iterations of that tech. And I've seen the first one a couple years ago from, I think it was BMW as well, to the latest one they just released. And I can only imagine where that's going to be 2 years, 1 year, 5 years. Or any other technology. So we have to be able to offer these things to our clients, as well as anything else that's out there. So it's a crazy world, but it's much more dynamic, and it's not as rigid. Anything, in my opinion, any industry now with AI too, whether you're in the tech space or marketing space, sales space, anything that you would think of normally that lasts a traditional amount of time in the past in any industry is all changing in front of us.
Yeah.
We finally hit that, in my opinion, that point in time where technology grows so fast that you don't have industries that you can forecast for a solid amount of years that people were going to grow up and pass this tradition down to their kids and so on and so forth. I think that is changing from what I can see.
For sure. So that's coming from the new industry standpoint. But let's say one of our viewers is looking into being an entrepreneur and being an entrepreneur in an automotive business. Now there's a lot of information on just like how to start a business, how to run a business, yada, yada, yada. But what is something that is different about the automotive business than other businesses that'd be good for them to know?
Something that's different about the automotive business.
The automotive industry. So starting a business in the automotive industry.
Man, there's so many different facets. I can speak on the restyling side, but in the automotive industry, it's probably one of the largest industries out there for like hobbies or people that want to get involved in things. I think that's why Fast and Furious franchise did so freaking well, man. You got 10 movies now coming?
Yeah, 10.
Dude, it's wild, man. Vin Diesel, dude. Sheesh.
Rest in peace, Paul.
Relax, man. Hit me up, dude. Come on.
Let me mess with that Charger, man. Come on.
let me throw some film down, man. But yeah, man, that the whole industry and the craze behind the automotive car culture is pretty wild. And I think if you want to get involved in the automotive sphere, there's so many places for customization. If you want to get involved in, to service, to just new product, enterprise. So if you want to customize cars, there's everything from top to bottom. It's like doing like one of those little model car setups, right? You could literally start from the bottom and from the tires, wheels, suspension, and everything that makes all the performance components of a car, from everything from the engine to the rear diff to lighter wheels to whatever it is. We're still going at that point of it, all the way up into the inside of the car with audio and laser systems and upgraded interiors and lighting and starlight roofs and all the other stuff, upgraded interiors and upholstery, all the way out from the exterior, custom glass work, window tinting, protection films, color changes, painting. You can go on and on and on about different services that you can do in a custom field. And then behind those are the manufacturing of them. So you can be in the custom wheel business building custom wheels or white labeling custom wheels. You You could just be selling tires, be a tire shop, mounting and balancing all day, right? You could be a suspension and alignment shop doing suspension alignments. There's all of these, or manufacturing one of the parts behind them. Like, oh, I have this idea for this new kind of, coilover setup or spring system, which is, I don't know how many more iterations you could do of it, but somehow, some way, people keep pushing the boundary of these things. You know what I mean?
So starting a business in the automotive world is the same as starting a business everywhere else.
Yeah, there's just so many different layers from manufacturing which was going to be a business to business, to the business consumer. So if you have a B2C, then which we are, we're like working on the restyling side and protection side.
For now.
Yeah.
So we gonna holler at y'all big boys, you know what I'm saying? Coming at you Ford, coming at you Chevy. What's up, Tesla?
Yeah, there you go. But there's so many different spaces. I've had offers just recently in the past several weeks where I could go and set up at factories. Where people are like, hey, can you help us do what you guys do, but at a factory level? We'll pay you to come out and show us how to build this out within our company in a manufacturing process.
Yeah.
So these are big, large companies that are trying to get behind doing things like this. So for us, and for me in particular, you're just seeing just a wild and crazy time in the industry right now where even the big manufacturers are recognizing what we do and trying to say, okay, well, maybe we can start playing ball here.
So to hop in on that real quick, could you not, in a way, instead of just giving them the formula, could you not just be like, well, instead of me just teaching you how to do it and hoping that you do it as good as I do, why not invest into me and then just give me all your work and then I make sure it gets done? So then it's like you're inserting yourself in there instead of just giving somebody else the recipe.
Yeah, that's always the angle, right? But you're going to have the fact that we're even having conversations at that level is pretty cool, because you have to come in, and then they're gonna realize, oh shoot, we need training programs, we need systems, we need processes, we need this, and this dude's got 17 years plus in the game of just the color change side of stuff, so we got to be like, maybe he'd be a good component to be able to set up stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those are all conversations that it seems like are starting to happen. And I've had this conversation multiple times in the past few years.
We dabbling.
Yeah, we dabbling. So it's just good timing, man. It's just really good timing in terms of where things are positioning from, like I said, just a thought, just an idea, to where it's at today. It's crazy, and it feels like it went by so fast that I almost forget the in-between times, the hard times, the harsh times, times where we couldn't even figure out how we're going to eat next week, how we're going to pay the bills. Everything was scary. Going from one bay to two bay was like, oh my God, are we going to be able to afford this? Because, obviously there's no real industry that exists yet, but you got to push the envelope and the boundaries. So, it's cool, man.
What was oh hell. I swear I know what I'm trying to ask here. Just give me No, okay, so let's see. This is over here. Oh my God. I had a separate question now, just pushed on me. Yeah, bro, this is right. Oh yeah, Jesus. I don't know what took so long there. So me me coming in, so you were basically, okay, I've been here like 4 months. Coming in the door, man, you were still basically a startup, like with the way you ran business, and like you're big, but like you still ran it like a startup. So going from that to all of this restructuring you're doing to become more, what is your experience with that so far? Because this is brand new. Like we're talking about present day at this point. Like what's your experience right now going from, because like you're already big, but now you not only are you changing the size of what you're doing, you're changing how it's ran. You're bringing in more structure. You're bringing in higher, I'm not going to say higher value, but higher level people to help move along in certain ways that you haven't done before. So like, how is your experience with this so far? What's your thoughts on it? Anything, man.
Man, that's a cool question, because you're looking at, I've always ran this business like a startup. Right, so it's like I always have the mentality like, damn, I got to keep moving, I got to keep working hard, I got to keep hustling, and it's just you're so used to living in the dark, paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure out how to pay your bills in the beginning years, 5-10 years of like eating crap to get to the point where you're like, things start to happen where you don't have that mindset anymore, but it's still inside of you. You can't get rid of that habit of working at that level and moving at that pace where everything is just fragile around you. And I think that was one of the things I had to figure out how to overcome, where the delegation process came in, and then discipline behind that. You came in at the Nino time, which Nino was one of, which probably will still be helping us going to the future, but this is when we were figuring out on operationally how to really decide how we're going to move forward with developing systems and standards and SOPs, because if we're talking about replication, now we need to start thinking about processes and how they can be replicated across the board. And that was the tail end of the time you're coming into with his process and us building it out. So all these things are kind of new. The design department, which is, we have 2 people in that department now, is a new
Shout out Ali and Mike.
Yeah, for real. We'll be doing an interview with them soon when we do our designers interview. That was a whole new endeavor. When it came to, when you're a business owner in the beginning, you have to learn how to do everything. I think the difference between, the thing about a lot of business owners who started working in the business themselves is they have to learn what they do. Nowadays, with this industry being established as it is, I think people can potentially maybe now get into the business and hire people, not necessarily know how to do the work. And be able to figure out how to run it, because there are some standards and some systems and some industry things that are in play with training and whatever have you. So if somebody really want to get involved, they can send people to training and courses and have staff members, and they can figure it out at this point, where in the beginning it wasn't like that. So I had to learn how to be the first rapper. Oh, can you detail my car? Can you do this? Or can you restore the paint? And it's like you have this conversation you're with yourself, and I'm looking at Mickey. I'm like, all right, cool. I just, we just started doing, this stuff. Now I think I got to go to figure out a class. So I find like a really good, reputable detail school. Fly out there, learn how to do paint correction, pick up a machine, figure out the differences of how to use a machine on paint without messing it up. Because I'm like, oh, dude, this guy with a Ferrari just asked me to, restore his paint on his old classic Ferrari. Like, I've never put a machine in a car. I'm so, you're like, what if something bad happens, right?
Yeah.
Brand new Porsche, brand new this, brand new that. Hell no. I'm flying out to a class. I'm gonna learn what the hell I'm doing. So I spent, a week there learning, training from some of the best, most weathered people in the industry. Then you come back and you work your way into it. Hours and hours later, you become better and better skilled. Same thing with PPF. I remember I had a friend of mine who was one of the first guys who started he was one of the original people going to all the events with L4P and Gold Rush Rally. His name is Fred. Everybody knows him online as Pet Fred. He has a crazy car collection. So Fred hit me up. He's like, yo, I want to do my GT3 RS, and I want to do a full matte PPF. Can you figure out, can you do that? And it was new at the time. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do this. Like 2009 or something like that, 10. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And I'm like, crap. Never done one of these before. So
you pulled a Fonzo. That's what's happening here.
That within 2 weeks I found a class that was in LA, in SoCal. So I flew the 6-7 hours there. I drove there. I can't remember.
I was gonna say flying 6-7 hours to SoCal, bro.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It was 6-7 hour drive, and I flew there, or I think I drove there, and basically did the whole course in 3-4 days of paint protection film, technology, installation, did all the installs, came back and did his GT3 RS as a first car.
But that's the hustle.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he's talking about. Like, perseverance, man. Even when you don't know how to do something, like, you find a way to figure it out, go get it done, and come back and get it done. So
yeah, it was like, I have a problem saying no to people.
Yeah.
I've learned to get better at that. I've learned to get better at that. But in the beginning,
hey, can I have a raise?
Did that.
Can I get a raise? Can I get a raise? What's up?
Put your mic down.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What was that? I can't hear you.
Oh shit, that was pretty awesome. What? No, this is good, man. I'm getting better at saying no. So,
damn.
Hey man, your mama must have told you a closed mouth don't get fed, bro. You got
factual. You know what I'm saying? Big facts.
But yeah, man, for sure.
So to bring it back, like definitely, jack of all trades within your own industry. But would you say, because I still see you wearing multiple hats like all the time, so would you say that it is hard for you to step back and become the general rather than being in the trenches? Or, and I'll give you an out here, I will give you an out here, or will you just say that due to your current size and demand, there's just still an actual need for you to be in the trenches? So is it hard for you to step back, or do you actually need to be there?
So if you would have came here like 5, 6, 7 years ago, you would have seen me on the production floor every day, 8 hours a day, right? And I would have been wrapping, clear browning, PPFing, whatever, paint correcting, ceramic coating. I would have been doing all that stuff myself with several other people that were on the team at that time. Some of those people are, obviously still here rocking, the Tiagos, the Fonzos, and, so on and so forth. Maybe I was rapping a little bit when Sean was still first starting out, I think a decent amount, but now he's doing more and more. So now with you jumping in, I don't really rap cars as much anymore. I might lay down a couple panels with a couple guys, or I'll jump in with Isaac if he feels overwhelmed, like detailing or paint correcting, or maybe a ceramic coat or an annual follow-up on that side. PPF, same thing. If they need a little help laying down a couple panels, or they can't figure out how to attack something, I'll give them my point of view or teach them or train them. I'm starting to fall more back in line with like training the team members on specific things that catch them in the moment. So it's like, okay, hey, this is the wrong way to do it. You need to do this way. And or whatever department that I'm walking by or I'm helping because they need the help. Yeah. With a design team, everything Ali was doing and Mike was doing, obviously I'm not as weathered as Ali with design ideas, but especially with basic design and creating stuff for our clients. And Mike's whole job of weeding, masking, laminating, cutting, printing, all that stuff, that was all me. And I was doing that with maybe one or two other people at the time that I was trying to teach how to do it. So now you see them coming in, and I'm not really sitting at the front desk with you and Tanya doing sales. I'm not really.
Even though you want to be?
Even though I want to be. More so on the marketing side than the sales side. And I'm sitting here with these guys. I'm not really sitting with Mike and Ali doing full custom designs or cutting, weeding, masking, and all that unless they need my help.
Look, you ain't going to teach Mike how to mic, all right? Mike know how to mic. This is his thing. This is his thing, bro. So the point is that over the years, little by little, transitions have happened that I might not have like seen instantly. But as I talk about it now, I've realized, oh yeah, so many things have actually happened, but they've happened, like the tortoise and the hare, man. It's slow and steady wins the race. So I'm starting to see them all take form and shape, but at a really good, high energy, good feeling type of way. It's not like we just, all right, cool, we don't know what we're doing. All right, we're gonna start this department here, this department there, that department there, and get some. No, man, it's like weathered, and I have oversight, so I know how long a design should take. I know how something should be printed or laminated. I can give them ideas, and whether on the design department say, okay, I would design it this way. This portion I would do hand tailored. This portion I would do design and make sure it fits. When you print it, you got to watch how this kind of butts into there. Like I can give them all the 17 years of oversight without having to actually do that work anymore. So they get the pointers of 17 years without having me to actually do the work. That actually helps a lot because now I can start slowly trickling up into the side of the business I've been wanting to work on for a long time, since its inception, which is marketing, handling, overwatching media, overwatching sales, and just really dialing in on the areas that I'm really good at and that I really enjoy doing, and stepping more and more back on the towards the overwatch of the company. But it's not easy, bro, and it never came this quick. Like you're just making me think about it by asking me these questions. Oh, 100%. So, and I'm gonna actually get into what you were just speaking about, but I'm gonna give you a happy moment real quick. How's it feel to stand here, hands on a rail, looking around and seeing departments of people that you've hired doing the work that you used to do day in and day out? Like, how's that feel, man? Just being able to look around, just like, I've built this. Like it's happening. I'm standing here and it's happening around me.
It's crazy. I used to do it a lot in the old shop where I would just, everyone's gone. I'm sitting there and I'll just sit on the table because the table was up against the wall at that time. And I'm just looking out at all the 7, 8 cars that are inside the design studio and looking at the sales desk, looking at all the printer and the laminator. I'm like, holy shit, this is actually happening. And that was years ago. Now today I'm looking at it in a completely different fashion. Like I'm here and it's, now we got departments like you said.
Yeah.
I have a design department. We have the 3 major departments downstairs. We have R&I technicians. We have a sales department. And it just, once in a while, it'll hit me. You know, and be like, holy crap, what the hell just happened? But because I'm so enthralled in it, I'm here essentially every day. And I'm always tuned in and plugged in. I forget. It's like you're inside the bubble so much, you don't get to see it from the outside.
Yeah.
And then once in a while, somebody like you will just mention that and make me think about it. Like, oh shit, I didn't think about it like that. Like yesterday, a client came by and he was in Canada and he was in New York and he went to Buffalo, and then he just came over here, drop off some of his stuff, and he was like, "Man, in Canada, I went to this spot, and we're talking about you, and everybody's talking about you. You're like, everyone knows you. You're like legendary." Then I go to Buffalo, New York, and I stop by some other shop because I'm in there for a little while, and I go to some other shop in Buffalo, and I'm talking to them about you, like, oh yeah, you did this car, and they're like, holy shit, they did that car, and blah, 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 and they're going around checking it out. And then he's telling me the story, and I'm just sitting there perplexed, like, just like, what?
Little old me?
Yeah, I'm like, you know, it's, I just trip out on it, you know what I mean? That it's, that kind of stuff is actually happening.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, you don't realize the type of influence or the type of just, you know, the optics that you might create for yourself and your business when you're inside of it and you're living it every day. You don't really look at yourself from the outside. Yeah. And I like it that way because it keeps me humble. Yeah. When I'm just shoulder to shoulder with my team, and we're building, we're facing problems together, we're conquering problems together, we're coming up with new ideas together. Where, you know, and I'm part of my team. I never try to act as if I'm pushing people or bossing people around. I don't like that. I've never liked working in atmospheres like that. I've always liked working in atmospheres where, you know, the team, everyone gets along. And the only way I knew how to do that was to be immersed and be part of my team.
Well, that brings me to a good question. I am still going to come back to the marketing side, but would you say that leadership comes natural to you, or do you feel like you have to work on leadership, or do you feel like leadership's not your thing and you're going to have to bring in and hire leadership?
I think with business in general, you're going to get to a point. I'm experiencing it. So for me personally, at a personal root, some backstory. I do have one family member who's had decent amount of success who married into the family. And he's in another country, and he's actually done really well for himself. And then inside of my own immediate family and generations that I can see going back, there's not very many people that I can talk to or lean on to ask questions about how to build a business or how to get it to a certain point. Because what we've built here with the team and the business that where it's at right now, I feel like it's already kind of come to a point where there's not many people that's relatable within my own close, personal, intimate family network where I can lean on and ask those questions. But from an outer perspective, growing the company to where it's going to be going to, I'll have to figure out all these things on my own. So if I'm figuring out, okay, cool, where are we going to business? How do I get to the next level? Who am I hiring for leadership or people like that? I have to just kind of go with my gut and what people are telling me to do in terms of advisements. I had this conversation yesterday with John, who's our business advisor. He's been one of our clients. He's like in our top 5 clients ever. And he just kind of was like, hey, I would like to be somehow, some way part of your brand and your business. I just really like it. Love bringing all my cars here. And he's a super successful person in his own right. So we'll probably be interviewing him here soon on the podcast.
Oh, we better.
Yeah. But he is now kind of part of our team. And, you know, we were having this conversation about, like, people like Ali, people like Mike, people like, you know, other people that are coming in, yourself even, that are coming in that are at generally more of a talent base than I would used to be. I couldn't fathom hiring people at at the cost ranges that I spend with some of you guys when I was first starting. You're talking about a kid who couldn't even afford to spend money to get to gas, to put in his car, to drive across a bridge and pay bridge toll and get to his own place of work because, it wasn't enough money. And then to think about, oh, cool, I have to now pay for all these people and their lifestyles and their salaries and like have growth plans for them and to think how that's going to grow. That's all stuff that, as a business owner, as what you would call an entrepreneur, you have to figure out yourself. And it comes to that point now where we're starting to pull in smart, talented people. And was what I was talking to John about. It's like we've built something here that is attracting certain people to. Yeah. And that is really cool, where people like yourself can come here, find enjoyment and potential growth for yourself and say, oh, you know what, this is something I can dig with for a bit and see if something comes out of it. Where someone like Ali could be like, yo, this is seems like a really cool spot. I'm going to apply here and see if, I can be part of this team. That type of talent takes time. Now to manage that time, that with leaders or other people, I think that's the same thing's going to happen. The Johns who've come into place, the Ninos who've kind of come here on their own accord or found some way because we've been building such a big brand. All these talented type of people, the Andrews that are working on the back end all the time, developing marketing strategies and everything else. All these people are kind of being now finally, with this brand being built, are coming towards this company naturally, organically, and that is freaking cool, man.
Well, that's a really large perspective, but let's narrow it into you specifically. Has being a leader for you come easy, or do you feel like you struggle with leadership? Because there's owners who aren't the best leaders, so then they bring in other people to be the leader because that's just not their knack. And that's not a bad thing because they have a strong suit elsewhere. So would you say becoming a leader? Because I feel like you're a leader in your own right, but do you feel like it's been something natural? Do you feel like it's something that you've really had to like learn and kind of teach yourself, or do you feel like it's not really your thing and you're probably going to move towards just kind of hiring people to be the leaders while you take a
I think step? If you want true success in a company, especially at the size it is right now, or any company that's at this size where you have less than, let's say, several hundred employees, you're a smaller company, we're 20 something people now. Yeah. But a company that's like us, that's, smaller or has the type of size of company that we have, we're, in my opinion, it's one of those things where I'm gonna probably be somewhere in a position, in a leadership position, or somewhere up top where I can look at people and make sure that the vision, the ideas, the energy, the vibe of someone who was there, who gave birth to the company, is still here and pushing forward as hard as I can. There'll be a point in time where, naturally, normally, that I would have to pull back, whether it's because my energy levels aren't the same, or I'm drifted into another part of the company or other companies, chasing, new ideas and visions. But for right now, for the foreseeable future, I don't feel like I've solidified the company to a place where I'm comfortable leaving the team to know that they're well taken care of. Yeah. I think a part of my strength is caring and being an empathetic leader, because I care about all the people that are on my team. I didn't know how I was going to answer that question, but as naturally as I answered, that was as natural as I can answer. I don't feel like I'm ready to leave my squad or team behind anytime soon until I feel like they have the proper tools to be able to grow in this company and build the business going forward.
So the leader that you are now, do you think that that's come naturally, or did you have to teach yourself how to be that leader? Who are we talking to?
Hold on one second. We're going through a windstorm right now, and everything's going bad, so I'm getting blown up.
Oh, snap. Bruh, we got tornadoes where I'm from, dog. Cali's just weak. Like, oh, my God. The stop sign's shaking. That's a conversation with me and my coworker. The stop sign is shaking. Like, bruh, until you see a cow flying through the air, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, we ain't got no tornadoes and stuff like that over here. We got a windstorm, all right? Yeah, that's about as much. We get a little bit of flooding now, finally, so, we'll see how that works out. But Luckily, we didn't get flooded. A lot of the neighbors around the area got flooded out recently. The weather's been really crazy the past couple of years, man. So
don't let them fool you. The flooding's not to a lot of rain. The flooding is just due to bad upkeep on their drains.
Yeah, because we're not experiencing rain like that. We've got river fronts and river storms and stuff. But yeah, you're right. Infrastructure is not ready for that. But what was the question?
So the leader that you are, is that natural, or did you have to teach yourself how to be the leader that you are? Focus on you, not the business. You.
I think there was a lot of pressure growing up in my household.
Yeah.
My parents are entrepreneurs. They're immigrants. They had to start. They started their own business, and it was shortly after I was born. So as I grew older, every year that passed, their business was also became a year older. Mm-hmm. So growing up under the counter, literally crying under the counter, like, is there a baby here? And my mom's like, yeah, my son's under the counter, because she's watching me as they're trying to start their company and business.
Yeah.
And as it's growing, I'm growing alongside it, watching them work tirelessly throughout the night and yada, 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 all the stuff throughout the years. And seeing them grow their company and their business, seeing the goods, seeing the bads, watching them as immigrant people coming here to start their own business and try to chase the American dream. So that was definitely something I embodied, and I watched through their characteristics. So that helped understand business and how much hard work takes to be able to build a business. So it gave me a lot of that, learning through actually watching of what it takes to build a business, or at least to not give up. And there's going to be hard times and, family arguments, all kinds of stuff that comes into play that comes along the way of building a company and a business. So I think that helped me a little bit towards building that leadership, being the oldest of my siblings, 4 siblings, and having to be in an Asian family growing up where you have to be like the guy who has the right grades of this, the role model, all the other stuff. And being in that position where there's so much pressure on you, and you have to be involved in the business. And since I was 12, I was working in the company, and all the other stuff I had to do, it was constant daily bombardment of pressure all the time. And it was old school whoop your ass pressure, right? If you cannot crack, you show cracks, you get your ass whooped. And so that type, which today I don't think most parents practice that kind of stuff, but I will say it built that type of structure inside of me to be able to have a lot of patience and to be able to deal with issues and problems as clearly as I possibly can be, because I've worked under so much pressure environment growing up, from a child to teens to everything else, that it becomes easier for me to take that position. I loved sales. I always did from early. In my high school, there was a program called DECA, which is Association of Marketing Students, and I absolutely fell in love with that program in high school. And it was a traveling program where you do competitions throughout the local, state, national, and international levels. So I could be competing with someone from Australia or China or something else in a sales marketing scenario where the judge is telling us a scenario and we both have a few minutes to figure it out and then present like how we would sell this or market this or figure out a strategy behind it. And at that point, I realized I was good at it because I placed in the local level and I placed 4th in the state level. And it was my first year doing it. And I'm like, damn, I think I have a knack for this stuff. And I really actually have a lot of fun doing it. And then I was like, okay, cool. In my parents' business, I was helping them organize, do all the marketing, the sales, because I just freaking had a knack for it and I really enjoyed it. So building this business, I also had that same thing. So having sales, being involved in sales, being involved in marketing, and then learning all the trades in the industry, and then having that much pressure, which kind of beats you down to make it naturally makes you a little empathetic. I think that stuff helps because, you're always in that pressure position. So I think for me in particular, all the life experiences, I became a byproduct of that. Yeah. And it just was the right formula for me to be a person who can be an empathetic leader towards my team. And I realized that over time.
It wasn't even a natural, it's not even that you're a natural leader, and it's not even that you've had to teach yourself how to lead. It's more so that life has taught you how to lead. And I like that. Actually, I wouldn't have even thought of that. I like that. All right, so then that's actually another good leeway because you brought up marketing multiple times. And originally I was going to ask you something about what's your favorite part of the business or something like that. But as y'all have heard, what's your favorite part about running a business? But as y'all have heard many times, he's into marketing, not just sales, but marketing explicitly. Why? What is it about marketing that you feel or find is so fun? And then what is it that comes so easy to you about it? What's up with you in marketing?
I really like figuring out what makes people, what they're thinking of, what makes them tick, what makes them move. So if I love having deep conversations with friends about all types of subjects, and you have these like deep convos, whatever they're philosophical and everything else. Yeah. But understanding the human psyche and how it works and how to move and sway them by the way you do certain things. That's what marketing does. Like if I put together something, a pitch, idea, a video, a marketing copy, whatever it is, and I put it out there, and then I see how it works. I have statistics, I have bars, graphs I can look at and say, okay, this didn't work. Why didn't it work? Yeah. And then it's another challenge, a quick challenge for me to overcome. So we reformulate, do it again, do it 10 times, 15 times, 20 times. We're like, oh, shit, we got one that went viral. All right, why did it go viral? How did it go viral? Damn, it was just by chance. Maybe it was this, maybe it's the algorithm. So many new things today in this world, but that thrill, the excitement of being able to create things and understand like what is moving the needle and then seeing that as a result directly leading into sales, and then the sales directly leading and feeding the entire team. Yeah. It all connects, but it starts at the marketing level to sales and then into production. Yeah. So the very top of the structure of grabbing people's attention and pulling them in at that marketing level is stuff that really excites me. I've always had a really weird connection to that particular thing. Yeah. And I think for me, I've always yearned for the day that I can go back into that department, and it's getting closer and closer.
Oh, we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen. Yeah.
I really enjoy that side. It's just that being the original rapper, being the original PPF artist, the original paint correction and detailer and ceramic coater.
Got a lot of other hats to wear.
Yeah, all these these hats of me like actually doing the work took at least 10 years for me to finally get to a point where I could grow out of it. Or at least start to. Then now with design and all the prep work on the graphic side, I'm finally starting to taper out of that side. Yeah. So it took some time to be able to develop a team at this level, but because I can understand every department and how they function and how they work, it gives me an edge over a lot of people who are probably in this business, maybe just starting in this business, who want to have all these different things going on, but don't really understand how a HP latex works and how to send a file to the RIP software, or how to run a laminator, or set up, your cut lines on a plotter and the depth of it, versus anything else that we have behind us that are getting down. So all these things, I think, gives me an unfair advantage because I know every single department and how to run it. Whereas most people who are CEOs or execs of companies that get hired in, they don't actually know how to do anything that it's not within their company. Yeah. Because the organization's too large, the company's too big, and they actually don't know what to do. Yeah. So that makes a big difference in my opinion.
No, 100%. And I love marketing too, to be honest with you. I knew I've been seeing somebody walk around here, bro. I keep catching her in my peripherals.
I think she just came back in real quick.
What's the name? So in marketing, I love how much of it is a rabbit hole. Like it goes all the way down through sociology and psychology into like colors. Like colors impact the mind in a specific way. Like Absolutely. There's a reason Mickey D's is red with an accent of yellow. Like there's, dude,
all that stuff's crazy.
Everything's like, I love it. I definitely had to learn about that when doing what I did. So marketing is definitely a really fun one.
There's a reason why you smell the food before you get to the restaurant. So I could be outside and I could smell Chick-fil-A or Burger King. It's actually scents that they put inside where it's cooking intentionally to attract you there. Yep. Then you have the colors that are on the building. If you notice Chick-fil-A, McDonald's has colors somewhat similar. They have some similar vibes, at least with the primary colors, because they entice you to feel hungry. Right? So all that from a marketing perspective comes together. And when you look at huge marketing campaigns that you see on TV, commercials, whatever, social media, and they do things very specifically.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, that was hella funny. This. And I like to look at it, analyze it. Why was that so much? Why was that so entertaining? Why was that so funny? How can we replicate it?
That's why strippers wear vanilla perfume, because it brings a nostalgic smell.
We ain't gonna get behind that one, bro. Hold on 1 second. Oh man.
Yeah.
You got some experience there, huh?
Hey, look, I done learned a thing or two.
Okay.
Oh shit. Oh man, how much time we got for? Because I'll keep going.
We're about 112 into this now.
112. All right, I'll try. I'll bring it. Okay, I'll bring it to a couple last ones then. We're gonna say, what is could have this entrepreneurship. What is or what has been your motivation on the days that are the hardest to move forward?
Oof. That's a tough question. So there are a lot of days where you get up and being in the leadership position where you don't want to get up. You don't want to come to work. You don't have the energy. You don't have the effort. It's just whooping your ass.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about how you feel at that moment, because you might feel like you're shit. You might feel like you're down. You might feel like you just don't want to do nothing to come to work. And then in the end of the day, you got to say, F my feelings. I got to get my ass up and I got to push forward. There's so many people depending on me. When you're sitting in that position of like there is nobody higher than you, I can't turn around and say, I'm going to put it on you to show up. I can't say, hey, can you come through, cover for me? Mm-hmm. I can't. The excuse is absolutely useless for me. If I don't show up in the beginning years, first 10 years, I don't pay bills, right?
Yeah.
So that is normally attracted to me time.
Wow, that's crazy.
But yeah, in the beginning, in the beginning. You remember that video? Oh shoot. But yeah, man, in the beginning it was like that, where I didn't have any time to be able to have any of that luxury to be able to look back. So I think that's ingrained in me. So now, like, what I did a lot in those days in the morning was I would try to motivate myself. How I would motivate myself was I would read a book all the time, and usually it's Audible. So I love Audible. That's how I usually read most of my books. You put me up on a great one, which I'm actually reading. It's my first physical book in maybe over a decade that's business related.
Dude, I love it. I'm almost done with it.
Yeah, it's really, really good. But it's by the founder of Zappos. What was
Delivering Happiness by Tom Shea, something like that.
Yeah.
But like I said,
it's a cool backstory on his life growing up as a kid and then how he got into business. But don't give me no spoilers. So,
okay. A good overall thing is it's about the importance of culture within a workspace. So if you're a young entrepreneur or a new entrepreneur and you're really wanting to know like what's the main things to really focus on when building out your business, that's a great book to show you the importance of culture within a workspace.
Yeah. I actually have a decent array of books that I've read over the years, which in another podcast, and we might do another segment like this, I can probably touch bases on some of my favorite books. You can comment below if that's what you want to see. But in the grand scheme of things in business and trying to energize myself in the morning, it was like there was a lot of videos I watched. You know, when Gary Vee first came out, I was listening to him a lot. There was Eric Thomas, E.T., the hip-hop preacher. So I used to listen to him a lot in the beginning when he first started his YouTube channel. There was one video that went viral of him early years ago on YouTube, and it was, him kind of giving a presentation. He was talking about, this analogy used of someone going in the water, right? And this dude's pushing his head down, and he's like, essentially the short story of it, he was giving this example of this guy who was going out to the ocean. And he's like, I'm going to teach you something about business or life or whatever it was. And he was grabbing the dude and he's pushing him down into the water, and he couldn't breathe. and he's pushing him to go down, and he's getting up, and then he's grabbing, pushing him down again, or something to that degree.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then he lets him up, and the dude comes up from where he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" He's like, "Until you move in life or move in whatever it is, and you have that desire to breathe, just the way you had that desire to want to breathe so badly because you were drowning, until you have that level of commitment, you will not succeed."
Yeah.
Right? It was something to that degree, but it was. I remember that. Yeah, and I remember watching that, and I watched that video multiple times, and I was enamored with him in the beginning because there were times where I did not want to come. Like, I was just defeated. You know, I got whooped. I had to redo this. I didn't know how to do that. I'm figuring this out. I'm like new industry, new business owner. I'm just figuring stuff out by myself.
Yeah.
And people like him and other people that I would listen to self-motivate myself, books that I would read to self-educate myself, all these things were give me the push. And Mickey, who's my wife, would also, you know, the great thing that she also used to do for me is she would always believe in me in a weird way. She would just be like, you know, I know you got this, baby. I know you can figure this out. And she would be nervous, weird, this, that. She would be like, yeah, I could tell she's like legitimately like, I don't know how we're going to survive or pay her bills. But she would turn around and put it on me and say, I know you got this. I know you can figure it out. And I'm like, what?
What happened to we?
I know you can figure it out, but that's all I think a man needs to hear. A man just needs just to know that someone is depending on you and they're next to you, and you have to care for them, and then you have to provide for them. And I think that's something we grow up as young men growing up, that we have to have that type of persona. Those words were all I needed for the push to say, you know what, I got it. Yeah. You know, she's believing in me. Even if I feel like in my mind, I just like, damn, how am I going to overcome this? I got to just put I can't break frame. I have to keep frame and say, oh, I got this. I got this. I'll handle this. I always figure out a way. And I don't know how to figure it out.
Immediately turns around. How the
fuck? And you got to go with it. And if it means you got to work all night long until the sun comes up, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to work again till the sun comes out. This has happened before, where I've worked, you know, throughout the night, throughout the day, throughout the night, throughout the day, and never went home. I just literally kept working, and until like I was delirious because I had to meet a deadline. I was all about my word. If I promised the client, I'm going to get your car by this day. I was really afraid to call the customer and say I can't make the deadline. I messed up with my timing, or something got wrong, or I would redo this panel, or whatever have you. When I used to do all the work myself, I was so, for some weird reason, maybe it's my people-pleasing side or something, I just couldn't call the customer and give him bad news. Even if it was something simple, like, hey, I need another day. No, that's unacceptable. Yeah. If I told somebody it's going to be done in this many days, it has to be done this many days.
I'm the same way.
And I will stay up all night long and all day long and all night long and all day long until it's done, just to say I gave it to him on time. And then I would, you know, sometimes I'd be like, oh man, it was hard. I miscalculated this. I had to be up all night. And I worked, you know, this and that, but I got it to you when I said it was going to get to you. Years later, I started to realize people don't care if you tell them, oh, I need another half day to make sure my work quality is good. Yeah. Because you have a family, because you need your mental health, your this health, your that health. But in the beginning, I didn't think that way. It was never that way. It was always work your ass off to get it done and keep your word, right? It was an old school mantra: shake your hand, do this, do that.
I'm still in that.
Yeah, and I think nowadays, you know, if things get a little, you know, delayed, people understand, you know, we got a huge team. We're really trying to work on high quality. Yeah. So if we need another 4 hours, 8 hours just to make sure we deliver at a certain quality with QAs, I realized most customers are like cool with that. But at that time, I didn't realize that. It was just like, push hard, get it done. Don't make excuses. Don't be a little B. Just get it done.
Don't be a little B.
Yeah. So, but it is what it is, man. You know.
So on that, for people who are watching, that may not be in the same scenario where you may not have like a bunch of other people depending on you, or you may not have a bunch of employees underneath you that are dependent on you. Something that got me. So I heard it one time. Look, now I'm looking for it. So, yeah. All right. Yeah. Just know it's gonna happen. Yeah, so anywho, yeah, we're gonna keep that right there.
Oh
My thing, I heard this one time, and dude, it's got me. It helps me when I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed. So for people, once again, who aren't in his position, my thing was, I heard it one time was, you get up every day out of bed to be on time for work for your boss, regardless of what if you're working for somebody, right? Or if you're an entrepreneur, like you did this in the past, assuming, hey y'all, let me know when she walking behind me. Stop signing. So you get up every day on time to be at work at a specific time, and you make sure that you're gonna do it. Even the days that you really don't want to get out of work or get out of bed, guess where you're going? You're gonna go to work, go and do it. Why can't you do that for yourself? You're showing your boss, your employer, whomever, more respect than you're showing yourself. You respect them more than you respect yourself because you're willing to do that. But why can't you do it for yourself?
It's so easy to say that. And it's so easy to say that, but how come it's even something that has to be said?
Dude, I never realized it. I never realized it, man. Like literally, like now when I'm struggling, if it's a Saturday or a Sunday, or if I got a day off here or whatever the case may be, and I'm struggling to get out of bed, and like you the homie, so like it you know, whatever. But and I'm struggling to get out of bed. I'm like, man, like I can't respect Shareef more than I respect myself. Like, get your ass out of bed. And then beforehand, I can't respect Sean. Well, that was my previous boss. I can't respect him more than I respect myself. Like, get your ass out of bed. And that, dude, it got me because like I'm like, you gotta respect yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that means a lot to me. So that was my thing. Was like, your thing is like, you know, provide for others. Mine was like, I need to respect myself because I was based on respect. So I was like you said, why did this even need to be said? Like, I never put two and two together. So now that's my thing. So maybe that'll help you. You know, why respect your boss more than you respect yourself? Like when you need to get something done, respect yourself enough to hold yourself accountable and get it done.
Yeah, facts, man. It's there was a lot of good content on this podcast. At least I hope so. For you guys out there listening, there's always something to be learned. Whether I'm reading a book, watching a video, talking to someone, having a conversation, showing up to work, doesn't matter. I learned something every day. So hopefully there was some good tidbits here for you guys today. You were able to pick up on something, learn something. Really good questions by AJ. Some great thoughtful insights by him as well. Oh, and you know, it's one of those things where until the day we die, like they say, you're never going to stop learning. So I'm hungry for that. Hopefully you guys are as well. And hopefully this was a great podcast for you guys listening to. And if it was, man, smash that like button, comment, and subscribe.
Facts.
All right. Much appreciated to you guys. AJ, any last words?
Yeah. How many people are here working for you right now?
How many people? 20-something, 22-ish. Between 22, me 23. And Mickey, 22, 23, something like that.
How many square feet is this place?
This building is about, with everything mezzanine, everything included, it's about 7,400-ish, something like that, 75. Let's say 75, give or take, something like that.
How many cars can we get in motion within like a week or so?
This floor space times 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we got about 6 cars here, 3 cars there. So that's 9 and then 10, 11, 12. We could probably cycle through that twice.
Okay. This is a friendly reminder. Step back, realize you did this.
Much love, man.
Much
Appreciate
love,
you.
All day. I'm looking forward to another one of these.
Yes, sir.
I love you, y'all.
Y'all
be smooth.
man. Much love. Deuces.
Peace.